am super looking forward to making this video since you guys requested it, so please do let me know how you feel about Frankenstein at the end of it. See, I have bookmarked particular lines even that I want to tell you guys about. So if you have not read Frankenstein, or who knows, maybe you never plan on reading it but still want to know the general story, then this is the video for you. I will admit I was not really expecting to love it as much as I did. I knew that I would like it simply because I adore classics in general, but there's also such a huge difference between actual Frankenstein novel and the Frankenstein movies that Hollywood have just butchered. Victor Frankenstein is the guy who created the monster, who we should call the creature. It refers to itself as the creature, and let's just call it the creature, okay? Because there are some serious questions of morality in this book, and personally, I don't believe he is a monster. So we've got Victor Frankenstein is the guy who created the creature. Second mistake Hollywood made is it's alive! Never happens. Ever. Not once. That's just not a thing. I mean, Victor creates the monster and the monster does come to life and Victor's like, okay, cool. And then the monster opens its eyes and Victor's like, oh, okay, maybe not so cool. And then the monster jumps up and Victor runs, screaming. And honestly, if he hadn't run away, this entire novel would have been like 3 pages long. He could have prevented everything, which I will leave until later because that is an entire other box of cats that I need to bring out about who is the real monster of the story. So, first of all, Victor Frankenstein creates the creature. Second of all, there's no dramatic "it's alive" scene. Third of all, lightning does not happen. Electric eels in that Kenneth Branagh movie does not happen. There is no electricity. Electricity plays no roles in the story at all to begin with. Now that we've got that out of the way, number 4, the creature being this giant, tall, greenish tinged guy with neck bolts. No, not a thing either. He is tall. He is approximately 8 feet, which is, I think, 2.4-ish meters, give or take. So yes, he is. He's incredibly tall. But the reason he is tall is because Frankenstein was trying to replicate all those tiny little body functions, you know, like neurons and atoms and shit. And to do that, he kind of needed to make them a bit bigger. Don't ask me the science behind that, quite frankly, there is none. But that's the reason. So there is a scientific reason as to why the creature was so tall. He is not actually green at all. His skin was actually slightly yellow. Also, he did have pretty creepy eyes, but aside from that, Victor actually created him specifically using very handsome features. Now, what was considered handsome in the early 1800s, probably not what's considered handsome today, but I'd like to think the early 1800s weren't full of 8-foot tall shambling monsters running around with green skin and metal sticking out of their neck. But who knows, times have changed. So, Frankenstein is the doctor, not the creature. There is no "it's alive" scene, there is no lightning or electricity or eels for some reason. How did he even get the eels into the house to begin with? Frankenstein is a normal guy, not a doctor, and the creature is not green and he does not have any pieces of metal sticking out of his face. Now that we've got Hollywood's version aside, let's talk about the actual book. The main problem that a lot of people have with this book is how all the characters sound pretty similar. And yes, that could be because Mary Shelley had never written a novel before she wrote Frankenstein. She was also 18 years old. This was the first novel she ever wrote. She was still a teenager. And, you know, I mean, obviously her writing style wasn't very developed. I don't even know if she had more than a first draft when it came to this. But the point is, she was completely inexperienced as an author, and because of that, it could be explained as to why all the characters have the same tone of voice, while they all have pretty much the same personality. They are very monochromatic, bland inventions. On the other hand, and to give kudos to such a fantastic woman, The fact is, this story is being told by one person who is retelling the stories through 4 other people. Confused yet? I know, it does take a while to get into this. So you have Walton, who is technically the narrator of the story, in the sense that it begins with him and he is actually telling his sister everything that happened through letters. Now, he's telling his sister everything that happened based on what Frankenstein told him. So Frankenstein is telling Walton everything that happened. And then Walton is telling his sister everything that happened. But the creature told Frankenstein everything that happened to him, which originally started with Victor telling everything that happened to him. So you've got Victor telling the creature, telling Victor, telling Walton's sister. You see how things get a bit blurred. So despite the fact there are 4 different perspectives, 3 technically, depending on if you count what the monster knew of Victor, if you just count that as Victor. Either way, there's a lot of perspectives involved in the story, but at the end of the day, it is all being told by Walton. So the fact that all these characters sound similar, I mean, Walton is telling the story how he remembers it being told. So of course he is using his own language, he's not going to remember everything that was told to him, and if this were real life, then that would be why everyone would sound similar. I mean, you cannot remember verbatim everything that everyone ever said, especially not long enough to complete a novel. So the simple fact is, yes, Mary Shelley was an inexperienced writer. On the other hand, this story is being told by one person through the eyes of 4 others, so everyone is going to sound the same when there is one person just telling everyone else's story. The actual style, as in Mary Shelley's style, the language used throughout this novel is so beautiful. Yes, there are a lot of descriptions about nature, and it can get a bit dull, but on the other hand, this was Mary Shelley needing to rant to someone about how beautiful Switzerland is, and to do that, she made Victor Frankenstein a lover of the natural world. And since he is a lover of the natural world, that greatly contributes to him wanting to recreate life, to create the creature. Yes, so many descriptions of lakes and mountains and trees, but on the other hand, you guys need to remember that this is a shell-shocked 18-year-old girl who is absolutely in love with the world around her, and she wants to let other people know how beautiful it is, which leads to many paragraphs of nature in this book. So don't dismiss it, okay? Because, I mean, this is 200 years later. How incredible is it that we can read the rantings of this teenage girl who was so in awe of what she saw? So her style of writing, aside from those very lengthy descriptions, is beautiful and it's incredible and it is so engaging, and I absolutely love it so much. There are a handful of passages that I actually marked because they were so beautiful. And not just her general descriptions, but the thoughts of Victor Frankenstein himself, the things that he says, the things that other characters say. I mean, they are just so beautiful, and there's such questions of humanity and morality and psychology and good versus evil. There are so many things that rise because of the questions asked, and one of my favorite things about this book is that none of those questions are answered. And if you're sitting there going, oh, well, what's the point? That is exactly the point. The point is, what is the point? There are so many questions about, I mean, who is the real monster here? Is it Victor Frankenstein or is it the creature? The fact that these questions remain unanswered is actually beautiful, because it leaves it up to the reader to decide who is good and who is evil, and what even is good and evil to begin with, considering everyone's a mix of good and bad. So all these questions do come up throughout the novels, but it is the way that she phrases them is just absolutely incredible. And there are so many thoughts that rose because of what I read in this, and there are so many just random throwaway lines that are halfway down a paragraph that probably mean nothing in the overall story, but it makes you think, and it made me think, and there were so many things that rose up inside of me because of the different things that were said here. Like, for example, a human being in perfection ought to always preserve a calm and peaceful mind, never allow a passion or a transitory desire to disturb his tranquility. That is a lot of words, okay? It's the 1800s, you guys. There were a lot of words back then. To put that in today's terms, in a more colloquial term, no matter how much you love something, if that something is unlawful, or if that something does not benefit you mentally, then there's no point in doing it. I mean, it goes on and says, if no man allowed any pursuit whatsoever to interfere with the tranquility of his domestic affections, Greece had not been enslaved, Caesar would have spared his country, America would have been discovered more gradually, and the empires of Mexico and Peru would not have been destroyed. The fact is, humans should never leave anything corrupt what should be a peaceful mind. And that was Victor's downfall in this. He dedicated himself so thoroughly to recreating life, not in the traditional way, hint hint, that it became his downfall. At the end of the novel, it 100%, it killed him. Let's be real here. That is what killed him. But as much as he loved alchemy, and as much as he loved science and physics, and he absolutely excelled at them, it didn't matter that he loved them so much, because they were not good for him. You need to put tranquility and you need to put peace above everything else in life, or else we will end up destroying each other. Now that's just one paragraph in this entire novel. Can you see why I love this so much? Okay, I might be getting way too philosophical for some of you guys, and if I am, then, well, I guess just skip to the next segment of this video. But that is why I loved this novel so much. The actual story, the plot itself, it is interesting, and like I said, the characters, they're somewhat similar, but they are also interesting in their own right. But it is questions like these that seriously made me love this book, because those are things that I have not thought about before. Yes, wars happened, you have to be blind not to realize that, but the reasons behind those are so scientific and so factual, and people never actually consider why they happened based on humans, based on human minds, human psychology. Like, yes, there may have been a fight for land or a fossil fuel or a huge dispute between two countries. Those are the facts. That's what factually caused the war. But why do we as humans actually allow those things to happen? Psychologically, we know war is not good. End of. So why do we allow those stupid, tiny, inconsequential things, why do we allow them to make us destroy each other? And those are thoughts that had never occurred to me before. I never thought to ask those before. And, you know, there's just so many questions like those throughout this novel that made me absolutely fall in love with it so much. Moving on from that, this is probably going to be the longest section of my video, so I will apologize in advance for that. Who is the real monster? And you guys, this is such a catch-22 situation. This is full circle. Not even circle, this is like a spiral, because it keeps getting worse and worse and worse the closer you get to the top. Who is the real monster? I mean, the fact that Frankenstein and the monster are their names, that kind of gives you a clue as to what the general populace tend to think who the monster is. But the characters are written brilliantly. Both Victor and the creature are both admirable, but they're also both detestable in their own ways. There are some things that they do that are incredible and just decent, good human beings, but there are also other things they do that make you hate them so much. So to begin with, the fact that Frankenstein, Victor himself, wanted to create this new life, wanted to find the source of life and replicate that into creating the creature. That came from a good point of view, that came from a good mindset. He wanted to find the source of life to prevent any further death. His mother had died only a few months beforehand. He was distraught, he was full of grief. He wanted to prevent that from happening to other people, which is a good reason. That is a good person. I mean, at the beginning of the story, we are told a bit about his childhood. He was a good kid, you know? He was a very pleasant young man. So, you know, you have to admire him for that, and the fact that he just wants to prevent pain by finding the source of life. So that is good. Bonus point for Victor. On the other hand, when he creates the creature, he immediately abandons him. He created this being with love and with care and with dedication, and the second the creature opens his eyes, Victor immediately condemns him and flees. Just head straight out of there, runs for his life completely. So the fact that he abandoned the creature, not a good point in his favor. So the creature wakes up all by itself, alone. It doesn't know what life is. It doesn't know how it's created or who its creator is. He tries to find his creator, and he goes to Victor's room. Victor sees him and screams, and the poor creature is absolutely terrified and runs away. So, point in creature's favor, he should have been guided. Victor should have been there to tell him what to do. Currently, the creature is looking to be a better being than Victor is. Victor's friend Henry then appears. Victor is completely distraught. He gets a really bad fever from the fright, the terror he got. Henry's a good bro, Henry's a good friend, and he helps him get back to full health. Victor's happy out, life continues. They go home to Geneva, and it turns out the creature is after murdering Victor's little brother. The creature is now leaning more towards monster. On the other hand, the fact that Victor abandoned the creature means the creature had known to teach him right from wrong. He did not know that murder was bad. He cannot be blamed for not knowing that. He had known to teach him. That is Victor's fault. So you can see the scales are pretty evenly balanced. Yes, the creature murdered someone, but he didn't know what murder even was. He should have been taught that by his creator. Now, up until this point, the creature has done good things. And the things that he's done that haven't been good, like murder, he didn't know they weren't good things. So yes, what he did was bad, but the fact he didn't know it was bad means he cannot be blamed for it. So up until this point, the creature is good, and Victor supposedly is bad. Good versus evil. Like I said, they both have admirable traits, but they both did bad things at the same time. Then the creature condemns humanity and sets out to destroy it. He is educated now, he can speak, he does know right from wrong. He's after learning morality, what should be done, what shouldn't be done. All of his actions after this point can 100% be put on him. He knew what he was doing from this point forwards. So he goes back to Geneva, and Frankenstein, the creature tells Frankenstein his story, and pretty much says, oh, I will hunt down your family, I will murder everyone you care about, I will eventually murder you, just for the heck of it, unless you make me a creature girlfriend. So Frankenstein says, kind of a difficult decision, but alright, sure, as long as you never bother me again. And the creature's like, yeah, of course, we're going to disappear into the jungle in South America, it'll be chill, don't worry about it. Victor decides, fine, we can create a monster girlfriend for you. Victor then goes back on his word. Bad point for Victor. His reasoning is that he doesn't want another creature to exist in the world as dangerous and as uncontrollable as the creature he first made. Keyword being he first made. It's his fault the creature exists to begin with. Now he doesn't want to create another creature in case the same thing happens. It is fair that he thinks like that, but on the other hand, the creature, as I said, is educated. He is intelligent, he is as good as you or I, and the fact that he swore he would never again even look at a human being, let alone harm a human being, as long as he just had someone with him. He is lonely, there is no one else that exists like him, He just needs a friend, okay? And yeah, you feel kind of bad for the poor guy. So the fact that Frankenstein knows this and still goes back on his word makes Frankenstein more of a monster, until the creature goes on a murder rampage and pretty much kills the rest of his family, which is a bad point for the creature. So if you have listened to the past 10 minutes of weighing up who's the monster, creature, or man, the answer is inconclusive. They are both as good and they are both as bad as each other. And it is such an important question to answer. Is there such thing as good versus evil, considering everyone seems to be a mixture of both? Which leads to this whole other debate that we have neither the time nor the attention span to delve into. But the point remains that it is impossible to decide whether Victor is more of the monster or if the creature is more of the monster. I mean, the creature himself says, "Listen to me, Frankenstein, you accuse me of murder, and yet you would, with satisfied conscience, destroy your own creature. Oh, praise the eternal justice of man." Yeah, it's pretty hypocritical for Victor to say, "No, I'm not going to help you because you murder people, instead I'm going to murder you." Fair enough, you know, the creature, he has reason to be angry, and he did not go back on his word once. He was fully intending to go through with it, but, you know, Victor had to say no, and I wouldn't mind, but he was like 90% of the way done through making the creature's girlfriend. And then that was when he decided, you know what, no, screw you. And to be fair to the creature, he does stick to his word. He does go off and murder Victor's friends and family. So he may be a serial killer, but at least he's honest. As well as that, there is this line, "You are my creator, but I am your master." That has a whole other rant. "You are my creator, but I am your master," which pretty much says you are a slave to your creations. So that could be taken on a more literal sense, in the fact of when you have kids, you're stuck with them for like 18 years plus. On the other hand, this does circle back to the first quote at the very, very start of the book. I do love when things come together like that. When he says, "A human being in perfection ought to always preserve a calm and peaceful mind and never allow a passion to disturb his tranquility." So it does circle back to that. I mean, the monster does say, "Yes, you created me, but I am your master." Just as Victor had originally said, you cannot become a slave to your creations, you cannot let anything that could ruin the peace take over your mind, because you will be left in ruin. And truer words have never been spoken. And it does come true. Victor is left with no family. I think he has one brother that survived, and that's pretty much it. His wife is killed, his father is killed, his mother's already dead, his brother is killed, his adopted sister is killed, his best friend is killed, everyone is killed, okay? And it is the monster, the creature, that kills them. But if Frankenstein had simply taught the creature, "Hey, you shouldn't kill people," then it wouldn't have happened to begin with. But then if you're going back that far, you would say, well, what if the Victor just didn't create the creature first day? None of this would have happened, but such is life. So that is a super, super long rant about morality and who is the real monster and man versus monster. Now onto some lighter things, and that is very, very simply the guy who was actually telling the story, Walton, the sea captain. Walton is hella gay for Frankenstein. Okay, you cannot tell me that he is not. There are so many lines underlined in this. I mean, the fact that Walton actually set sail to begin with, because "You may deem me romantic, my dear sister, but I bitterly feel the want of a friend. I desire the company of a man who could sympathize with me, whose eyes would reply to mine." He's not straight, okay? He even goes on saying, like, "My lieutenant, for instance, is a man of wonderful courage and enterprise. He retains some of the noblest endowments of humanity." Gay. So gay. All the gay. So much gay in this. The descriptions that he uses for Frankenstein, he describes his eyes as lustrous. He says he's never met a man more noble. He's never met anyone who inspired him so much. It is honestly, dude, come on. Like, he must have been a noble creature in his better days, being even now in a wreck so attractive and amiable. I have found a man who should have been happy to have possessed as the brother of my heart. My affection for my guest increases every day. You know what, I'm just going to show you guys. See how many of these lines are underlined, okay? All of them, every single one is underlined at this point. And this is page 17. You guys, come on. Even at the end of the book, when Frankenstein is dying, what comment can I make on the ultimate extinction of this glorious spirit? What can I say that will enable you to understand the depth of my sorrow? All that I should express would be inadequate and feeble. My tears flow, my mind is overshadowed by a cloud of disappointment. He died. Frankenstein died, and this dude is sad because he saw his life partner in him. And it is tragic. So that is a pretty happy end. Happy end, he dies. That is a pretty happy end to this review, not to the book. Because despite all of the murders and deaths and questions of morality and evil that happens throughout this entire thing altogether, at least we've got a queer character, which is more than I can say for modern books, and this was written in 1818. Yet another reason why Mary Shelley is incredible. Still, kudos to this absolutely fantastic, wonderful woman, because this book was absolutely incredible. I seriously hope I have convinced you guys to either read it or to even make it to the end of this video. So please do let me know your own thoughts about this book in the comments below. Honestly, this is such an incredible book. There are so many incredible questions that arise out of this book. So please, please, please do consider reading it. If you have already read it, then let me know what you thought yourself. And other than that, please like the video, please do subscribe so you can get some more very, very long book rants about things you should or should not be reading. And I will talk to you guys soon. I update new videos every single weekend without fail, and I will see you guys next week.